Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast for Mashin Sentai Kiramager. I am Vashi V, and joining me today is.
Right. Welcome to episode 2. Uh, so, Juru, our red, is officially introduced to the rest of the team. He's brought into the secret base. Turns out it's actually a secret base hidden underneath a jewelry chain store.
So, slight question, only because I was asked the question and I don't have an answer for it. Why is a jewelry store a giant fucking palm tree building?
I don't know. Why does the CEO look like he's on vacation in Hawaii?
Okay, that's fair. I, I got asked it and I couldn't think of a good answer, and that's as good as one as any. Also, was I the only one who had Bokinger flashbacks
Maybe. I didn't really.
to the initial time you see like their Bokinger's base?
Yeah, I get what you mean now.
Because it was kind of like that walk in and this is where it's all at, and I'm like, huh. It was immediately all I could think of was, oh yeah, Bokinger was a thing.
Hey, but Kendra was a thing, Maginger was a thing, Tokyuger was a thing. I could just keep going with this, probably.
Right. But for me, it was just more like the way it appeared, I guess.
Uh, so, uh, we get the actual opening theme to the series. What did you think of that?
Honestly, not that bad. Um, it's no real soldier,
No.
but it's one that I can easily see growing on me the same way Rio Soldier did at most Sentai. Except nin 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 nin. Fucking Ninja. It's the only opening that I can't stand.
Uh, See, I haven't seen Ninja, but I saw Kaku Ranger. Kaku Ranger, ninja, ninja.
That wasn't as bad as half the lyrics being nin.
I'm actually curious if that's where they got the name Ninja from.
It wouldn't surprise me. But like in terms of like the physical opening, like the visuals for it, I fucking love it. It it's like, to me it's a mixture of what I'm used to seeing nowadays for Sentai and like older Sentais, like kind of mixed together. And like their I on like how to do the visuals for the show. Oh, and on a side note, because of the opening, yeah, Daddy Crystal is still alive
Oh, I wasn't paying that much attention.
because there's no reason for him to be shown in the opening.
I didn't even catch that. There you go. Spoilers.
And it's not even the fact of him being shown in the opening, it's how he's shown in the opening. Like, he's shown in the opening like the same way he is in the show when you first get his appearance, like that, you know, angle around the throne. And then it splashes up his evil brother, unmasked, and is that whole light and dark thing, like side by side. And then it just moves on. I'm like, yeah, no, he's alive. There's no reason to do that unless he's alive. Because otherwise, you're dedicating part to the something to the opening that that was 30 seconds in the show for the main series.
Something that was literally like episode 0. Like, hey, we don't have time for this in the actual series.
Well, it did. They did have that little flashback this episode, or in the first episode, where she's kind of, my dad dead, and the whole, as it progressed. or it was this episode, one of the two. But one of the two, there was a small little flashback of her daddy getting stomped. But other than that, it's like there's no reason for him to be in the opening if he's dead. I would accept the
If it was
it
portrayed in more of like a Mabushina is mourning him kind of way, I could see that, but that's not what's
right.
happening.
Oh, Pixie's in our chat and she says, or it's just to do the whole representing good and bad and what they're fighting
The
for.
light versus the dark.
I would accept that if they used anybody else, like if they'd done like the shadowy figure for the head of Jotunheim, because we
It,
haven't seen the head of, like, that would work better.
what would have been good is if, like, it has the shot of the king and his traitor brother, and then it switches to a shot of Juru and Jotunheim.
Right, like that would work. But for me, it's just more those. My brain just says, yeah, there's no reason beyond he's alive. For lack of a better term, it's why I had every belief in the world that Jin would come back in Kamen Rider Zero One, because he's still in the fucking opening. They never took him out. And Sentai and Rider specifically is really big on that, or at least here lately.
They can't all be like X8 where they change the intro every time something happens.
Well, this is true, but with something like that major, if a character is no longer on the show, it would make sense for them to alter the opening. Like in terms of like small changes and stuff, like Deno, I feel did it the best because it was like, ooh, like they'd had like one splash screen of them of like the forms and then the image in dancing. And then the only other change is when Zeronos shows up, you get like 2 seconds of Zeronos. And then it's the exact same opening for 50 episodes. But like in this particular instance, he's literally not in the show beyond the he got stomped, his shit stomped.
Right.
So
So the king is probably alive. Uh, Later, Pixie. Thanks for stopping by. So, uh, Juru, as he is the one who bonded with the red Kirame stone, is the leader by default. Now, uh, the Kirame stones, like their personalities, like because they're the mechs, so they get play in this episode when the mechs as the the combinations are introduced. But like the stones themselves, barely anything. And I get it. Like this is an episode about the team itself. This is an episode about them, like trying to figure out whether or not they accept Juru as their leader or not. But if the thing that makes Juru the leader is that, like, oh, the red stone chose you, then shouldn't that stone have any input at all?
like, and this is one of those things where I'm glad they touched on it, on the here's why he's the leader, like for a team that's basically been thrown together. Given that background, that it's because that everybody that Red has chosen has always been the leader. I'm fine with that as a reason. Makes sense. I'm okay with it. It's
Tradition.
enough to, yeah, tradition. It's enough to justify the standard. Why is he the leader? But at the same time, I also love the fact that they're doing the wait a fucking minute.
Yeah.
Specifically yellow. I don't care what his name is. I'm never going to call him by his name until Juror does. But it's just one of those things. Like, this is something that we normally get, like, either real quick off the bat, Or a good, 8, 9 episodes in, once the teams started flushing and melding well together, and they do the whole, oh, and then it just goes, yeah, I'm the leader, or somebody says they're the leader, and they go, why? And I like the fact that it's now, and I like how the fuck it plays out.
So, yeah, I do like that Yellow tries to like step up to the plate because that's what he did episode 1. Like they didn't have a leader yet. When things were happening, he was the one that took the initiative and started calling the shots. So for him to be the skeptical one of like this guy just gets to be the leader just like that, it works out really well.
Right. It's like, and initially, it doesn't come off as Yellow being a dick. Initially, other than why he literally just got here. Why is he the leader? It's a valid argument too, especially for a team that just got together. Why is he the leader? Because we've reached that point that I personally feel, and I feel we all kind of agree. Sentai can use any color for a leader, and none of us would give a shit. The reason why it's red is because, fucking tradition. The same reason why
We've got
literally
plenty of non-red leaders in the past.
right, but now it's more red is traditionally the leader. 9 times out of 10, if there's a red, they're the leader.
Oh, the majority of the time. There's very
Yeah.
few non-red leaders, but they just exist.
I think the primary one that I know of is Kaku Ranger, but they still kind of defaulted as red.
Yeah, white was technically the leader, though red became the strongest amongst them. And there were
So
times where
focused on
white even like defected to his opinion.
like I mean, and it's one of those things like I have like that I have no problem with that, and I'm fine with it, especially if it's one of those like that particular instance where it's yes, white's the leader, but you are the strongest. What do you think we should do?
My least favorite example of it is Geki Ranger, where I want to say like halfway through the series they decide that Yellow is the leader, and then it makes no difference. She does nothing as the leader.
Okay, yeah, Yellow was a girl in that one.
Yes.
I don't know why, but my brain went to Geki Ranger for the suits initially, but cast of Hurricane Ranger.
No,
I'm
incorrect.
like, no, Yellow was a dude. I'm like, no, wait,
No.
no, yes, it was a girl. I had to remember pizza and it clicked. I'm not kidding.
Oh. Oh.
To be fair, that was
Jungle
that's also,
Fury was a hell of a pizza ad.
yeah, it was. But like here's like we're getting the initial what the fuck and a very good resolve of it. And it makes me perfectly okay with yeah, Red's the leader. I'm okay with it. But it's also one of those that I can see this being a thing later on. As this goes, like Yellow constantly going, no, why the fuck are you the leader? Or just kind of pushing it. Because, and this is where I think the casting and the story for the characters makes sense for this. He's literally a fucking high school student who, and as he says, would much rather draw, like he would literally want to unhinge and draw the fight than actually be in the fight.
He has the least experience. He is the least qualified. The only thing that makes him the leader is that the Redstone chose him. The fact that he can, like, do magic with his mind is a coincidence.
Yeah, the fact that he's basically a Tokuger is coincidence.
Like, the Red Stone obviously chose him because he had this potential, but he didn't actually know he could do this stuff. He's just like, hey, I got a good feeling about this guy.
Yeah. And then he
And,
just drew a fucking car.
and like, and this is where my issue comes in. Like, I'm super happy with how this episode played out, and I don't think that it needs to be changed. With that being said, this is a minor nitpick. Why didn't the Redstone have any say? Like, I would have taken a throwaway line of him going up to y'all and being like, don't question my decision.
Like I could see that. I think the biggest reason why that doesn't happen is for whatever reason the stones are now in quarantine, I guess. I don't know. There's no reason why that couldn't have happened and would have been fine.
Like, again, like, it's not that big. The episode is fine as it is. It doesn't need it. It's just like, but you have them. Please use them.
Especially considering the fact that them choosing them is what dictated him being the leader in the first place.
Which is the only reason I'm bringing this up. It was that the Redstone chose Jiro as the leader. So when that announcement was made and Yellow openly starts doubting it, I feel like the Redstone should have said something there. So, uh, moving on to the villains.
Ah, yeah.
We've got our two generals here. Um, Pretty boy that has to hide his beautiful face underneath a mask. And then the guy that wears too many masks.
Like, and this is the one point with the opening that kind of does bother me is it literally shows him without the mask. I'm like, yeah, that still looks better.
Yeah, no. I want tragic episode where Juru like does a helm splitter on him, and all the Kiramagers see his true face for the first time, and they're like, "My God, you're gorgeous."
And then Pink asks him if he wants her to spank him.
Jeez. She didn't say
But
that once this episode.
I wanted to ask it again. It's a very nice question. But yeah, it's like I still don't. I mean, so this episode specifically made me go look up past Sentai villains
Okay.
over the years to kind of get to figure out like where the feel of the villains came from, because both of the generals feel very very familiar in terms of aesthetic, as if they would feel better in different shows. Like the visual of the beautiful bastard in a suit of armor could parallel very well within Magic Ranger or Tokuger, especially in Tokuger where they had that more dark war time kind of look to them, or rather that more noir look to them. Whereas the other one looks like he would fit more in like very older Sentai, where it was a lot of like clay molding on top of a face. And nothing points that out further till when we get to the monster of the week.
Right. So their big kaiju failed to make the summoning circle. So the plan is to send, one of their smaller kaijuki to cause some havoc, gather up some darkness, and use that to create a small enough portal to send a nether kaiju through. It's a much slower plan, but it's still better than trying to bring the entire armada.
Yeah, but all I can think of is Go Busters.
Oh yeah, no, this is Go Busters as fuck.
Oh yeah, 100%. We're gonna create a monster literally so we can send the equivalent of the Megazord, which in this case
Like,
is just a giant fucking kaiju.
you'll probably get into situations where like both the small and big monster are being defeated at the same time.
Right, I'm sure that'll happen, especially once the next, mech gets introduced, whenever that is, whether it be a brand new, mech or, you know, our sixth member. Because it's usually standard that they have like their own mech now.
I mean, that's just been a thing.
Right. But I can very much see that being a thing, and that's one of the things that I really liked about Go Busters was their use of visuals for that, where you could see both happening at the same time. Maybe not for the entire fights of them, but enough that you had that stark contrast in imagery for it. It's amazing.
So, uh, the first monster of the week. If you thought a faucet was weird, well, brace yourselves.
Because let me rephrase that. If you thought a faucet was weird and you continued watching this to this episode and you thought this was weird, you haven't watched old Sentai.
Today's monster of the week is rugby. Yes, the
Uh,
sport.
image didn't show.
What? I have it up.
Uh, it's not shown in the preview.
Hmm. Is it just black for you?
There it is. Now it popped up.
All right, there you go. It's
It was
rugby.
now. The reason why I say you haven't seen old Sentai, and we're gonna let this sit up so you guys can get a really good look at it for a minute, is, and like I said, it's like this is what drove me to look up old Sentai villains, because I've not seen pretty much anything from what would be the Showa era of Sentai. But it had that really kind of oldie feel to it, so I just started going back randomly back and back and back. And I found the closest approximation to what this villain looks like. And that is from Go Ranger. The original Sentai. And specifically because of A, the appearance, and two, because it's fucking sport themed. From episode 53 of Go Ranger, you have him. Baseball mask.
Literally in the first Rider versus Sentai battle, they go back in time to meet the Go Rangers, and it's this fight.
And he comes back again in Go Kaiger. It's like this is very much old school Sentai. Like literally one of the first monsters in Go Ranger was literally a fucking rib cage on as a head. It's like this is very very old school Sentai, and I fucking love it. Like it's very very off-putting a little bit because we're so used to seeing very meticulously made monsters.
Whose suits like tear apart while filming.
Right. So for it to go back to that old classic it's a little jarring because it's literally like, what the fuck am I looking at here? Because I'm sure your reaction was, wait, what the fuck?
I was like, really?
Because with as well done as the monster suits have been over the years, this comes across as a little lazy. Okay, let me rephrase that. This comes across as very lazy. But I'm okay with it. It looks good. It's unique. Well, by today's standards anyways. And it makes it easier for, I think, the fights to look more like fights. Like the Sentai's done really, really good with their monster suit fighting, but this is people. This looks more like people on people, except one of the people has a giant football head, and it's not Arnold. And I'm disappointed you didn't laugh at that.
Sorry.
um, but it's just one of those, like, it's very simplistic, and yeah, it still comes across as decent. It's just odd for what we're used to having. Which and thinking about it, I'm really glad that they don't use the standard "let's make my monster larger," because this would have looked very strange against the goddamn mech.
Yeah, no. The Go Busters approach was appropriate for this series.
Yes, 100%, because that would have just been pathetic.
What I do like more than the outfit itself, though, because that's wow. What I like is how they actually torment people. Because, like, you get a lot of, like, alright, the monster walks up and then just starts shooting up a building while people run and scream. But here it's like, no, they force a bunch of civilians into a game of rugby where the ball is, in fact, a bomb. And when they carry it to the goal, which is a carousel, like, bomb explodes. Boom.
So, unfortunately, there's one version of what this reminded me of that I'm not going to use the actual what the standard thing to call it is because it's offensive. But it's the initial thing is to basically play dogpile. There's a very degrading name for it called smear the something, and that's where I'm going to leave that. And that's very much what it reminded me of because it's literally they literally throw the ball at somebody and then just jump the shit out of the dude. And
Yeah.
then it becomes a rugby match. Which was the strangest goddamn thing I've seen in Sentai in years.
So, the conflict for the heroes shows up when Cena Green is busy with one of her 400 meter relay races. She doesn't show up to the initial fight here, and Yellow Imizu is kind of blaming Juru for it. It's like, hey, did you call her to let her know we were going to battle, leader? Which he did, but she didn't show up.
Right. He did what he was supposed to do. He just didn't enforce it.
And that's where it comes down to. It's a conflict of, like, values of, like, what people think of as a leader. So Yellow is kind of enforcing his values on Juru of, like, if you're going to be my leader, this is how you need to be. But when Juru tries to use those policies on Cena, she's like, she can tell that Juru's just repeating what he was told, and it's like, I don't want a disingenuine leader like that.
And this is something I noticed too. Is like it because of that interaction that that line that Juror gave her, her entire mindset of him being the leader changed from the very beginning. Because in the very beginning of the episode, they're like, yeah, this is your, he's the leader. And she's like kind of clapping and happy about it.
It's like, oh, good for you. I
Right,
gotta go now.
right. But it still came across as like genuinely happy for him.
Right, she's
Even if a
like
little bit, I've
very
got shit to
genuine.
do. And then with this, it's obviously that, well, you're just spouting off what you think I want to hear. What you've been told, because it's literally what they've all been told. And that's valid. If you're going to lead me, I don't want you spouting off basically leadership tips out of the book.
Like, think for yourself.
Think for yourself and
And,
prove
and
that
this,
you are worthy.
it's okay to hear other people's opinions, but you yourself need to decide what you want to do. Otherwise, Yellow would just be the leader.
Right.
So I could have seen this easily being an episode about how Green needs to realize that, like, she has to make sacrifices in order to be on this team. But that wasn't really the focus of the episode. It was more about Red's leadership qualities, and that, alright, there's a conflict of interest on his team, and he takes it on himself to resolve that. Uh, so, so during the initial fight, like a family is in danger from one of the bombs, and so thinking quickly, which is going to be one of his strong points as a leader, he comes up with an idea for Blue and Pink's mechs to combine together into Sky Mage. Sorry for the poor image quality. This is literally the image they threw at us for the introduction, so you have to deal with it too. Sparkles!
The
I will
sparkles are lovely.
I will switch to an actual visible one in the future, but for now, this is what Toei presented to us.
And I'm oddly okay with it. Like, it's why it's one of those things. Like, I have no problem with like the sparkles when they're fighting, especially if it's pink or green. But and then with the mech, it's like it. Given that they're gemstones and all that, the sparkling makes sense. And to be fair, it makes sense in the cockpit too. But this isn't sparkle rape. The sparkles here do not rape your eyes like they do when they're in the cockpit. Especially when they do like the cockpit shots of when they're two or three of them at a time. Because damn.
Yeah, the cockpits are like, I can't even tell what's a chair and what's like a panel.
The background.
Right. Like it all just blurs in together. So yeah, one of Juru's qualities, positive qualities as leader, will be his quick thinking. Because he has a conflict of interest. He has an idea for it. Cena can't be in two places at once, yet she has two commitments that she wants to make. So, all you need is a second Cena.
And I love the drawing that he did and showed it and held it up like they would fucking understand.
Like, yeah, we just
what
need...
he wanted to do.
We just need two Cenas. What does that mean? So their weaponry, their guns and swords, are made from Kiramager stones called Blue Diamond. They were actually shaped by her father, who was able to use the same power as Juru. So now Juru just wants more of them so that he can pull off his plan. Alright, simple enough. So they go to get them. Mabushina begins reading a Lupin Ranger manga.
Thank you for noticing.
And Umiku is very relatable, and it brings a tear to her eyes, and she begins crying diamonds.
Please tell me you have the reaction shot to that.
I do not, but Yellow is just like Yellow can't even handle it.
And Blue looks fucking disgusted.
Oh, Yellow is just like trying to comprehend what he's looking at. He's like, this is freaky, but like cool though.
Like we get three reactions to it in one shot. We get pink,
Oh, Pink
blue,
is so Pink is super into it, Blue is super not into it, and Yellow can't decide.
and it's honestly this was not how I was expecting to get it. I just expected it. Oh yeah, well, there's a stash of it in my crystal pod that I fell here from.
When she was being hesitant about it, I thought she was gonna say we have a limited supply of this.
Right, and that too. Do you want to know what Pixie thought? And it was weird. And I have nothing against her thought of it. She's new to Sentai, and it's all right. Was she thought they were gonna chisel it out of her?
You know what? In a way, they did.
Yeah, right. But it was one of those like I guess she was expecting them with like a chisel. But then again, and now that she's pointed it out to me, I can't get it out of my head too that the gold piece right on her forehead looks like a penis. And because I'm me, I'm looking at her a little bit longer, mainly because of the henshin lesson that we got. The little white things on top of her head looks like a bra. Congratulations, Sentai.
Oh. So, Juru asks Shiguru, Blue, to grab the doll's arm as a demonstration. He does so, and it turns into a copy of Shigeru. Now Yellow is just losing it. He actually doesn't know what to do, and he's like he goes from like amused, from like shocked to amused to amazed to creeped out. Like this is how you fucking break a character.
So I started laughing a little bit because I'm assuming now Henshin for Pi, someone who has joined us on the podcast before, is I'm guessing listening along with us, and she put in our chat, you can get diamonds from Mabushina's tears. Quick, grab the sledgehammer.
You don't need a sledgehammer. Mabushina cries tears of joy. Just get her more Lupin Ranger manga.
But the interesting thing I had with the scene of the double blue was you could very easily tell which one was the copy. And it was something that I saw was going to be a thing going forward with this episode because the copy looked very bored.
Yeah, this comes into play later. So the copy is dubbed Daya-kun, a play on Daya meaning diamond and Daya-ku meaning substitute.
So congratulations, they made an Naruto pun.
And so Juru presents the doll to Sina as her substitute. Cut to the big fight. We get all five together again. Everyone's relying on Sina's speed to catch up with the monster. They notice that she's sulking, though, and she's usually optimistic. And right away, if you don't catch on that that's the fake, like, you're not paying attention.
Yeah. And that's why I mentioned it earlier. It's like very much
It's
bored and not wanting to
very
be there.
it's very obvious that, like, the substitute doesn't understand emotions. They don't. They're a rock. They don't make facial expressions. It's amazing that Juru got this far with it.
Right. Um, but the best thing about this, we get the henshin roll call and pose.
Yes, we do.
What a fucking pose.
Like, what is happening right now? Why? Okay, okay. So Blue is like, I'm a jet, I guess, and he's holding up Pink, who's like, I'm a helicopter. I guess they're the sky ones. They're whatever. What is going on the other side of the screen?
The other side of the screen, I can honestly say, I have no goddamn idea.
Like, it's bad enough that you have Jiru doing
Being the
something.
prettiest one, Juru is the prettiest swan in the lake.
Like, could Jiru not have been our first male Pink?
With that pose, he very well could have been, because that is the most ballerina shit I've ever seen.
But then you have Yellow, who's holding Pink, and, like, Yellow
Green.
himself, Green. Yellow himself is, like, in the most awkward stance. Like, you, whether you're carrying something or whatever, like, that's the most awkward stance. Green, though, looks like she's having fun.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like, I feel that this more should have been the pose with real Senna, because it feels like something real Senna would do, and that Yellow didn't have a choice in the matter. Because I feel that's exactly what Senna would do and how that would play out. Like, that's 100% Senna jumped up and went, "You better catch me."
Those poor suit actors, Henshin says.
But just don't let, I will never let anybody forget that Red is the prettiest swan in the lake.
And how? So, obviously, Substitute Santa can't catch up with the monster. But then the real Santa shows up and fucking dive tackles his ass, steals the ball, and then spikes it onto him. Like a pro.
So there's a couple of things I want to go over here. One, not only does Senna show up, but they relay race the fucking Kirame changer, which is amazing and fits with the character, and I love that. That's one of those little small things that they could do moving forward, going on with, you know, the imposter character. For, you know, however that would work out for anybody else, but it works out really, really well with Senna. Two, she solos the goddamn monster of the week.
They weren't kidding when they said we need someone who can keep up with him. That's her. Like, this is her role on the team.
I like it with the way it came through. Is like initially, like my brain, okay, well, she's gonna show up, you know, catch him, kind of like keep him still a little bit. Everybody else will catch up, and then they'll fight. And that is not what we got.
Nope.
This is one step away from Asana's cake. Like, we don't know, and this is something we normally don't ever get, is the one of the females soloing a monster. Granted, to be fair, yes, she did have an exploding bomb as an assistance, but still, it was all her. The rest of the team did nothing. Well, they fought grunts.
So Yellow is, of course, upset that, like, hey, wait, Why was the substitute fighting with us and not the real one? But Jiro defends it by saying, like, hey, that relay race was important to her. She shouldn't have had to have missed it. Uh, so basically, he wants to be the kind of leader where, like, he doesn't want his team to have to make sacrifices in order to be on the team. Like, these are the things that make you unique and special. You should be able to pursue them.
Right.
In other
And
words, you should be able to sparkle.
there's going to be a lot of sparkling in this show. Well, that does explain Red's pose. But um the way I liked how he put it was, it goes, this is not who we are. Yes, this is what we have to do, but outside of this, we all have our own lives. We all have our own dreams, our own goals. We should not have to stop them for this.
The complete opposite of Shinkenger.
Yes, 100% the complete opposite of Shinkenger. Because Shinkenger was, fuck what you had planned. You're now, this is what you do.
You devote your time and attention to this.
To serving Red.
To fighting the monsters.
Okay, well, it started out as serving Red, but
No, Red was just straight up like, you're not serving me, you're fighting the monsters. Because he had that whole thing about, like, he didn't want to be treated like a lord.
That was Blue who tried to instill that on everybody.
Yeah, Blue was the one that kept, like, treating him like a lord no matter how many times he said, don't treat me like a lord.
And she said, this is why Juror is a good leader. And it's very much true. Like, this played out for this is why he's a leader. Being very, very well done and very well justified.
He's a very idealistic leader, and he's still got a lot to learn. But there's a lot of potential for him to realize, like, the faults in his plans, but also how he can overcome them.
Right, and like I said, like with him, especially with him being very idealistic, it also opens the door to the leadership being challenged,
like,
which we all know eventually that will stop.
This is how you do good, like, this is the leader episode.
Oh, yes, it's absolutely. Like, without having to do the let's have everybody else try.
It's like, if you're going to have your leader just already be, like, an admirable leader from the start, they need to be Shinken Red or Gokai Red.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Preferably Gokai. Marvelous was the shit.
It's like, you got Shinken Red, where it's like, alright, he has the experience in combat to be the greatest fighter amongst them. He has the attitude for fighting the monsters. But he also has that, like, a bit of a coldness about him when it comes to being overly serious about it. That's his flaw. Marvelous, it's like, alright, he's a cheerleader, like, he inspires the rest of his team. Just by, like, leading by example.
And while he's a very cheery leader, he's also a very serious leader if the situation calls for it. Like, Marvelous pretty much let his crew do whatever the fuck they wanted, within reason.
And again, like as you see them, it's clear that, like, alright, there's an established experience here.
With Marvelous, I think it was a mixture of his cheerfulness, seriousness, and his charisma.
But then you have someone...
To be fair, you can't be a pirate leader and not be charismatic.
But then you have someone like Lucky, who has no experience, has no leadership qualities, and yet everyone looks up to him?
Like, the further you get into that series, it starts to add up. Like, and by the further, I mean, like, the last, like, once he goes back to his home planet, like, that part of the story arc, things start to fall into place with, yeah, I can see him being the leader now. Because that's when everything kind of fully clicks for him. should not have taken 40 some odd episodes for it to happen, but whatever. But yeah, it's like to start with
But
is like every bit of the way everybody should have went, well, no, fuck you, why are you the leader? It shouldn't have just been one episode.
yeah.
But that's the way I like how this was done, because yes, it was done in a way that yes, this is why he's a leader. And but it's done in a way where they can either drop it and move on, and it or they it can be, called into question as the story goes until it finally gets to the point of everybody fully accepting. Because Yellow kind of just goes, yeah, you kind of got me on this one.
But yeah, I would say Juro is a good leader in theory because he's got a lot of good qualities going for him, but he still needs to step up a bit more in practice.
Right.
This was a good start. This was a real good start. It worked out for him. Let's see if he can keep this going.
Right, and because that's what I'm saying. Is like there are ways that they can go move forward to where his leadership gets called into question. One of the easiest ways is how well can you control your team?
Like, all right,
How well can you get them to follow your instructions?
you want us to keep living our lives and doing this job. Like, how well can you manage that if
Right.
you're going to take responsibility for it?
Because with this is like letting everybody do what they want to do. Find an admiral can cause problems down the road when it's, hey, we've got a monster. Why the fuck am I the only one here?
I just imagine like later on they end up having like 5 of the dolls.
I literally just thought that as I said it. So we just get 5 reds. And please, if Toei, if you're listening and you do decide to do that, for the love of God, please let his line be, fuck it, I'll do it myself. You've got no problem cussing in a kid's show. Let's see it, Toei.
So so the monster is defeated before he could gather up enough darkness to create the small portal. But Carantula, the general that guides the monsters and such, like
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at where this is going.
he apparently Rugby Jamin.
Please use the quote of what he says.
Rugby Jamin has a dark insurance policy with Emperor Yodam. With this, we can make up for the remaining 20% darkness energy. I'm gonna try and forget everything that I just said.
Like, this is the closest I can get to shit like this, because I know this is a kind of a thing that's happened in the past with Sentai's. Like, oh, it's like where they're going for a goal, or it had to, something with like they had to collect so much or something, and they go, oh yeah, they died, but we can give you the extra 10%.
But like all of the implications here, everything about what he said isn't just, well, he gathered the bare minimum. This was like, nah, man, he took out a 401k. Our boss has the energy to spare. He's just not gonna do his own work, But with this, dental plan.
I mean, to be fair, we're just gonna call it a dental plan because rugby players usually need those.
like this makes it out that like the boss could just supply all the energy at any time, and he's just not fucking going to.
Right. You got to collect a minimum of 80% of it before he'll go, okay, yeah, I'll help you out.
Alright, fine. You died, so I guess I'll redeem your life insurance policy.
Like, the closest I can get to, like, that type of thing is, the continues for Juoger, where it's just, like, on Genesis' whim. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, fine. Let him continue. And Degranio, who didn't give a shit about anything anyways, going,
Give the upstart another
yeah,
chance.
give him another chance. It's 100% what that is. The only difference is this just happens to involve Megazord portals for this
For
series.
the invading army to be able to do their job. This isn't just like, oh, we'll give the monster of a week an actual fighting chance. No, this is, well, they failed their job, so let's just do it ourselves.
Like, there's parts of this that my brain goes, this should just be a parody of Sentai,
I think it is.
but it's legit.
Okay, Car Ranger was also an official parody.
Right. But yeah, it's like it's
But
all I
this
can
wasn't
think of.
this wasn't advertised as a parody.
Right, this is advertised as this is serious. But all I can think of is now I want them to fall over when the explosions happen.
Oh man, just one Akiba Ranger scene where they're standing just too close to the explosion and like Red just starts like covering his ears from the ringing.
Or, Green falls over and pushes her skirt down and calls Red a pervert. I'd be okay with that too.
Or when the Six is introduced, when the rest of them turn around for the explosion, just have the Six be like, "Why you guys turn around? Oh my god!"
Like, like it would. There's so many things that they could do with the fact that there's aspects of this show that come primarily the villain. This particular villain issue comes off very parody-ish. And to be fair, the pose seems like they're making fun of Sentai. I'm not gonna lie. To me now, that's what that feels like. Is there like, look at what we can do, ta-da! This is how dumb you guys look when you pose.
Like, I think I might just have to start watching this as a parody going forward, because then all bets are out the window.
Right. It becomes an entirely different show. But yeah, it's like, to me, and this makes the overall Jotunheim. The Jotunheim now to me is officially more lazy than Dogranio.
I could do something.
Now Dogranio was purely lazy because
I'm retiring.
I'm retiring. Prove to me why you should take over.
Which
Fine.
some of the Ganglars weren't even trying to win that contest. They were just trying to tribute him in their like as a send off.
And others were pissed off that their brother got stepped on.
Yeah, some of them were legit just doing their own thing, not even caring about the contest.
But Jotunheim is literally 100% going, yeah, no, I can open a portal so we can invade.
I'm not going to. That's your job.
But I won't.
That's what I have you for. You do it.
It's like, it is one of those, the further you go, you're like, how in the fuck has Jotunheim done anything beyond sit wherever the fuck they're at? I mean, we get understand through episode 0 how, that has sometimes worked. They just turn the brother evil. They find the Loki of the group and Frost Giant their way into Odin's castle. But beyond that, literally, it's no, do it yourself. It's literally like he's throwing darts at a map and go, invade here, go have fun. I'm gonna sit around here doing nothing.
Lord Yodan, we are here to serve. What are your orders? Destroy Pretty. Okay, where? Destroy Pretty.
And then every week a new monster comes to him going, I'd like an insurance policy. I've got 4 kids at
Destroy
home.
Pretty.
It's like I just wanted. I now want one of the monsters going to get the insurance policy.
Oh, we gotta get it at least once.
Because in my head, my brain goes like the same way like we would go apply for insurance of them standing there filling out a form. Oh, I've got 4 kids, 2 are in school, one's 5, one's 2. This is my job. Here's what the hazards are. Here's my pre-existing medical conditions.
It's like that episode of Geki Ranger where you find out that the grunts were bribing Melee to become the monster of the week.
Yeah, yeah, that. It's funny. It's like it opens a door for it literally makes you be able to make a parody of this show and change almost nothing.
So, giant monster attacking and pink and blue had stuff they have to go do. So that leaves red, green, and yellow to form their mech, Kirame Land Mage.
Which my favorite thing about that was they get told about it and they're like, "Oh yeah, dude, ours merged earlier, but you weren't there, so you didn't get to see it."
Hey, we should try that too, though.
Because then is like confused as all hell when it starts mentioning it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we already just watched this, but you weren't here." See what your commitments make you miss. Sparkles.
So we get a pretty par for the course introductory mech fight where they show off some of the features that are never going to be used again.
Like punting a football through a field goal post.
Sideswiping the monster's legs.
Like this fight was, while it being fairly standard for an introduction, it was really, really good.
Yeah, it was really good. My point is that like that move where like he extends the fire engine's ladder and then Senna drives her car across it to ram the monster. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
never seeing that again.
I will be disappointed if we don't see that again because that was fun.
I mean, I would love. I could be
Only
wrong.
for Senna's reaction.
I could be wrong, and that could turn out to be like the signature finisher or whatever.
Or a signature. I want to say if they do it, it'll be like the setup to the finisher, the way it was here.
But like, I don't expect to ever see that happen again.
I feel more that we're gonna see the, you know, the fucking fire hose or fire out of a fire truck.
Yeah, like the
Way
fire truck
more
just starts
than this.
breathing fire for some reason.
Because I guess the writers of the show don't know how fire trucks.
I thought you said this was a fire hose. Oh.
And he goes, no, literally, hose, fire hose. It's what it is, dumbass. And everybody going, well, we can't exactly argue that. Guess we won't change it. Like, but like my favorite thing about this mech is, like, as much as I loved Lupat, this makes the night shot fights look a lot better because we've got a giant walking multicolored glow stick. So the lighting is more, with the lighting being dark, it has a more aesthetic look to it, which shows off the fact of, yes, these are crystals, they glow, and sparkles. Like it, we have that aspect of it. Whereas if it didn't do it, it would just be, oh yeah, there's a guy in a suit. You know, it's one of the more unique features of this mech that initially my brain went, that's going to be very gimmicky and look stupid. And honestly, I think it looks really, really good. It looks a lot better than I was expecting. Which I realize I say that a lot about stuff that we see in scans and stuff. And also, the shovel hand looks a lot better
Yep.
than it did in that one toy scan we saw.
It looked too small in that scan, but here it looks fine. Uh, and then we send off the episode with more unnatural dancing.
Can we talk about the finisher move though?
Oh, go on.
I oddly like it, and all I can think of is like somebody jumping in the air and doing the windmill with their arms.
I'm gonna keep walking forward, doing this, and if you
If
get
I
hit
hit
by
you,
it,
it's your fault. But it's one of those like it's a unique. I like it because it's a unique use of like the ladder as in like leverage point. Because it's literally they punch him with they extend with the extendo ladder. It latches around the monster's his neck, I think.
something like that.
It jumps in the air and then he just starts windmill. I love it. I was borderline expecting a mech rider kick. Like I have expected it to just like post up on and slide down the ladder as it retreated back into his arm and kicked the monster in the head. And honestly, I think I would like that more. But I like rider kicks a lot. and then yes, we get really, really disturbing dancing. I'm never going to be able to handle red specifically, but red and yellow they're just bad.
So unnatural.
My brain can't process red dancing that way. Every movement of that, my brain goes, that's not, that humans don't do that. Stop it, you're creepy. Ending song's decent though.
So, yeah, like once it gets into the rhythm, like it does pick up.
But just the start dancing is bad.
Yeah,
And it's not bad. It's my issue with it is like we've had ending dances that were bad.
Like once they start
In the aspect of we have to change this because we just put a child in the cast.
Once they start dancing to the rhythm of the music rather than whatever the fuck they start doing, like it is actually like pretty decent. But we're also coming off of Ryu Soldier's ending dance, which is one of the best ones we've had in a while.
Which I will admit, I'm glad that they're continuing the ending dances because those were something that I really, really enjoyed. So I was sad when they disappeared for a bit.
I actually wasn't that big a fan of the Kyuranger one. The song was the most repetitive, and the dance got boring after a while.
The original dance I had no problem with. I liked the sexy time dancing, especially when Hami was the one. Not gonna lie. But once they changed it, I'm like, yeah, no, this sucks. But unfortunately, Q Q Tama Q Q is stuck in my fucking head for life.
Tama Q Q.
It is stuck in my head for life. It also doesn't help that for a good portion of time, that's what King kept singing. Which was fun. But I guess that wraps up for this week.
Yep.
Hey! Or maybe not.
Decade. You got here just in time. We're about to end the podcast.
Or I guess we'll go ahead and end the podcast since Decade's not talking.
That's fine. Uh,
Okay, yeah.
so thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow for Kamen Rider Zero One, and maybe Thursday for Beast Morphers. Drago is busy right now, so we'll have to see if we can schedule it. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
All right, we'll see you next week for more Kiramager, and we will see you tomorrow, and with possibly Henshin for Pi joining us, possibly. We will see you all next time, and we look forward to tomorrow.